Hey, friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to another Ask WrestleJuice. So obviously today on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about the tragic death of Jay Briscoe. Of course, one half of the Briscoe brothers. Currently, they were the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. And, you know, obviously they're legends in wrestling. They never went to WWE, and yet they were still able to craft a massive influential career of great success outside of the WWE, holding tag championships all over the place. Really tragic stuff, as many of you probably know. It involved a car accident. A couple of his daughters were in his car when another truck swerved into his lane, and a head-on collision happened. And currently, from what I still know, his daughters are in the hospital. They lived, but significant injuries there. And of course he passed, leaving, you know, I think he had 6 kids. Next week's supposed to be his birthday. And yeah, it's just incredibly sad stuff. As a fellow family guy, it just makes it even more tragic. Like, the one thing that scares me about the idea of death is leaving my kids behind without a father. And so just, you know, seeing whenever this happens to a family guy, it's just absolutely sad and pretty terrifying from my point of view. But absolutely sad. And, you know, you guys have some questions about that, so we'll go ahead and answer them, and some other stuff in the world of wrestling as well. Iniji says, hey, Steve, I'd like to ask you if you have a favorite Jay or Briscoes moment. So I've been able to see them once live at All In. I've seen plenty of their matches. The other day over at my Twitch channel at MF Steve here, we watched their ladder war match against Kevin Steen and Generico. I haven't seen a lot of the more classic matchups that people talk about, but I'll be honest with you, man, nothing beats, for me, the last the 3 matches they had against FTR last year. They were just absolutely terrific. We watched a bunch of their promos on the channel as well. When they were first introduced to the Bullet Club, they cut this great promo where they showcased how many bullets and guns they have. And I thought it was funny. It was a great promo that sort of illustrated just how terrifying and hilarious at the same time the Briscoe brothers could be. So yeah, they definitely were a standout. When I had heard of Ring of Honor, obviously ages ago, but I didn't really even start paying attention to Ring of Honor really until, I don't know, around like 2017. Like, I'd always sort of kept up with the major beats, but around 2015, 2016 is when I started to turn on here and there. And of course, the Briscoes were like the one act that really stands out in Ring of Honor because mainly of their promos and their intensity and their charisma. And yeah, just an absolute tragedy. But the other question here is, how well do you think they would have done under a Triple H-led WWE? I think they probably would have done pretty darn good. I think they would have done good regardless wherever they went. I don't know the exact story as far as why they didn't make it to WWE. If that promo they gave where they talked about being not cosmetically pleasing enough for the WWE, I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but I've never read the actual story. But yeah, I think they probably would have excelled in the WWE. I don't see why not. Honestly, under Vince or Triple H, because they had such a great connection with the crowd and they were able to maintain that across anywhere they went. Moving on. Let's see here. Curse of the Moon says, the New Day is one of my all-time favorite acts, but they feel like they need a refresh or a rebrand. Do you think a heel run is necessary, or what changes do you think would benefit them? Yeah, I don't know if they need a refresh or a rebrand. I'll be honest with you. I feel like they just need a good story. I mean, you look at the Usos, and it's not like the Usos went through like a massive rebrand since, you know, when they were like, you know, had the face paint and like the bright clothes. Like, once they started doing the Uso penitentiary stuff, that was years ago. They just, you know, this latest, they are relevant now because of the story they're in. And I feel like the New Day would just need something like that as well. I mean, the Bloodline story is kind of a once in a generation type story, in my opinion. So maybe that's easier said than done. But honestly, like any act, people don't necessarily need like a heel run or, you know, a split or anything like that. They just need like a good story. And the New Day have just sort of gotten by on their legacy and their charisma and how they're able to stay fresh through their own personalities, not necessarily the stories they've been given. Last good story they have was probably the Kofi Mania stuff a couple of years ago. So I think that they could probably get by, but they just need more stories. Guardian Ape says, in regards to the Bray Wyatt storyline and the fans' mixed reception to it currently, do you think the storyline itself is just slow and boring? Do you think the fans can't make up their mind and they either get mad when Bray gets pushed too fast like with The Fiend, or get mad when they build him nice and slow? I think there's a medium pace here that they're missing out on, because I do think the Bray Wyatt story has just been built up really, really slowly. And there hasn't been, and on top of that, like, it just hasn't felt too consequential, simply because it involves LA Knight, who isn't enough of a name now for anybody to really care about. And it's really, LA Knight is just, like, from a character standpoint, he's just a weird mix for Bray Wyatt. Like, I don't know why they went in this direction, but LA Knight is just a weird fit for Bray Wyatt. Because he doesn't really react like a normal person. He just reacts like an LA Knight person. He goes, yeah, calls him dummy a bunch. Jay Mark Nohada says, with the unfortunate news we have regarding Jay Briscoe, what do you think will happen with the Ring of Honor tag titles moving forward? I think they'll probably wait a little while. And at a certain point, I mean, the WrestleMania weekend, their next pay-per-view is coming up in Los Angeles. I would think at that point, that's a WrestleMania weekend. That's still about 3 months away, a little bit less than 3 months away. I would think maybe that would be enough time for us to really process his passing, to give Mark some time to process the passing of his brother. And then when he's ready, maybe he can, see fit to vacate the titles. But I would think that for the time being, given also that Ring of Honor has 6-man tag titles, moving on with the tag division is probably not a high priority. You really want to give Mark, his family, Jay's family as well, time to process everything and a moment to grieve. So I don't know what happens. What I would like to see happen is them simply say, hey, the titles don't really matter right now. Let's just let everything settle and calm down and make sure the family's okay first. And then, once we're well into that territory and Jay's family and Mark and his family are comfortable enough, then we can talk about that. But, the titles, it's all just story stuff. It's all just who cares, So I don't think Ring of Honor or Tony Khan, I don't think he's going to necessarily rush to be like, hey, we need to vacate these titles and get new champions. I don't think that's going to be the case. And then that shouldn't be the case. 1990 JMCG says, would you like to see movie-themed promo scenes for this year's WrestleMania like they did WrestleMania 21? And if so, which superstars and scenes? Yeah, I'd love them to do that. I think they should, and I think they probably will. That would not shock me at all. There's still plenty of time to do that. The Rumble's not even here yet. What movies and what scenes? I don't know, man. There's so many to choose from. Obviously, if you want to go with like some of the bigger movies, you can choose some of the Marvel scenes, spend a little bit of money and get, I don't know, Triple H in a Tony Stark suit. Just throwing that out there. I know he was Braveheart in that one scene they did last time. But yeah, I don't know. Put him in Marvel movies, put him in some Star Wars movies, put him in some other shit. Let's see here. Claus Techno says, what do you think Tony should do to make something related to the best friends less silly and more interesting? I don't know. I think the best friends are probably fine the way they are. They're like, they're the goofy thing that the fans really are into, and they don't really need to do anything else to keep them fresh. At some point, yeah, maybe turn Trent on them. I know they teased that a long time ago when Wheeler Yuta was in the group. But I don't know. I don't know if the best friends need to be less silly. That's sort of their thing. Like, you take that away from them, and I don't know what do you want from them? They want to be like really dramatic and everything? I don't know. I don't think they need to be less silly. CB Poppy asked, do you think we'll see Mickie James return to the Royal Rumble once again as Impact Knockouts champ, just like last year? I don't know if they just do that again. I think maybe if it was like Jordan Grace with the title, they might have. That would have been more interesting to me than just do the same thing they did with Mickie James last year. There's too many people. There are too many people that I feel could be used as forbidden door entrants in the Royal Rumble for them just to do the same thing they did before. Richard Ives says, what are your thoughts on Santino Marella being used as an authority figure in Impact? I think it's cool. I always liked Santino. I thought he was neat. I think it's interesting that he's able to use the Santino Marella name. And I don't know what they're going to do with him though. Like, is he going to be a goofy figure like he was in WWE? Is he going to be more serious? I'm sort of curious what it's an odd pick. It was definitely out of left field, but that's good for him. It's good to, it's good to get some work, I guess. Doug Jackson says, who had the worst world heavyweight championship reign and aftermath? Jinder Mahal as WWE champion or Evil as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion? I would probably say Evil. Just personally speaking, I sort of was like really let down, and I was confused when Evil won the IWGP Championship, and I really at that point was like, why are they doing this? What is the deal with this? I'm sort of less interested in New Japan at this point. I actually kind of thought Jinder was probably not a great idea for the WWE from a business perspective. I know they did it for a business reason to like generate interest in India, but apparently it tanked all their, like people dropped out. Like it stopped, like WWE's like trends or whatever started going really, really far downhill with Jinder as champion. But I don't know. I liked his theme song. I liked him with the Bollywood Boys. I thought Jinder was pretty fun, to be honest with you. Michael Bullitt says, with the acknowledgement ceremony for Roman and all the generations of the bloodline supposed to appear, do you think The Rock no-shows and Roman feels disrespected and that's a catalyst for their feud? I think it's a really cool idea. I like that idea. I don't know if that's how they're going to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I like that idea. I think that's kind of cool. Alfie Heath says, who do you think would be a great fit for the House of Black? Miro. Bring Miro back as sort of their X factor, because he's got like a beef with God, and then the House of Black kind of feel like Satanists. So like maybe that's a good fit right there. Irish Insight says, as someone who only started watching you and Larson after you were on Crizzlemania, what is Machinima? Wow. So Machinima was one of the top subscribed to YouTube channels about 10 years ago. Oh my God, over 10 years ago. I was working for them back in 2009. And Larson and I had a top 10 gaming show on Machinima called 10 for the Win. And it was very popular. And then we got laid off from there 8 years ago. And then when we got laid off, we started, before we got laid off, we started going in Raw, but we really started going in Raw in a major way after we got laid off. So that's Machinima. They had a lot of very popular video game related content. Let's see here. Braden Loader says, do you think WWE revealing Cody's return to the Rumble was a mistake or a smart move? I've had this question a lot. I'm going to say it was a smart move. I think Cody's the kind of guy who's bulletproof. People are going to be interested in his story leading up to the Rumble, out of the Rumble, road to WrestleMania, beating Roman for one of those titles, probably the WWE title. I think people are going to be interested along the way, and they want to see the process. They want to see it happen. They're going to be cheering regardless. If they tried to keep it a surprise, the secret would have leaked out anyways. Like, this was going to be difficult to fake or to keep secret. So why not just make an entire story out of it? I think people are really interested in Cody's return. They want to know about it. And I don't think that it needs to be a surprise. I think the only time you need a surprise is for a new, like a debut, or if somebody's coming back super early from injury, like John Cena did that time. Or there's like a big, like an NXT call up. So like a debut, a call up, a legend, or like a really early return from injury. That's what I think it should be. Let's see here. Sean Chan says, The Rock, Cena, and Batista have agreed to do a movie together, but only if you direct it. What is the movie? I had to think about this one a little bit to figure out if I could really nail it. How about this? Man, I don't know. I don't know. I'd probably like try to convince James Gunn to let me do like a Peacemaker, Black Adam. You know what I want? I know Jason Momoa really wants to be Lobo. I would really love for Batista to be Lobo. So that's what I would do. I'd do like a buddy show, a buddy movie where Black Adam, John Cena's Peacemaker, and Lobo all get together. And I think it'd be awesome. And I'd direct the shit out of that movie. Burning Waffles says, if you're Triple H, aren't you annoyed that Logan Paul pitched a match against John Cena at WrestleMania 39 on his podcast and getting some fans' hopes up if it wasn't the direction you wanted to go? No, I'd be super happy that Logan Paul, with all of his millions of followers, is talking about my product, the WWE, getting everybody hyped up. And then he can work to the Cena match at some other WrestleMania. But yeah, no, I think it's great for Logan Paul to be ambitious like that and say, hey, I want a John Cena match at WrestleMania. So yeah, no, I'm cool with it. I'm not annoyed if I'm Triple H. Anyways, that's going to do it for Ask WrestleJuice. Thank you so much for the questions. I appreciate it. And check out this video over here. We'll see you over there.